G'day everyone, Brett here, and welcome to Reliance Australia. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I did try to do a job and it didn't work. So anyway, I thought I'd move on to something else, which I thought I'd do something a bit different, which is a tour of the property and have a look at some of the fruit trees that we have in, and some of the successes and, should I say, failures that we've had with our fruit trees along the way. So obviously being self-reliant is getting to a point where we can actually look after our own food supply, and I'm not talking about 100% either for that matter. If I could get to 80%, I'd be extremely happy. So what we have is a start of some fruit trees. So just a quick one before we head into the fruit trees. Just a shout out to Kevin. Mate, you know who you are. You dropped us a question about the clothes dryer. Unfortunately though, only part of the question came through, so I couldn't actually work out what it was completely about. I got a feeling it's something to do with one of the bolts, probably holding on the main drum, I'm suspecting. But unfortunately I haven't been able to get to that and work out what that question was. It's just not coming through completely. So mate, if you could repost that for me again, that would be greatly appreciated. And so while I'm here, I do actually appreciate all the questions and comments. It's nice to know that some of the videos may be helping people out and giving you some ideas around what you can also do at your place as well. So thanks very much for that. And Kevin, I look forward to your question. Thanks. Now they're not all in the best of shape or condition. So here's our orange tree. I think citrus is always an important fruit tree to put in. However, where we are, I'm not having a lot of success with citrus at the moment. And talking to all the other growers around here, like farmers, gardeners, they say citrus doesn't always take on well here. I have lost an orange, a lime, 2 lemon trees in the last 12 months. So completely gone dead. Kafit kaputus, not here anymore. So this is my orange. It's hanging in there, which is okay. It's got some new growth. Then beside that we have a lemon tree. Look, that is one of the, I can't even remember what variety it is, but it's a variety that we do like. We have an olive tree. Now we do have quite a large olive tree up next to the house, which, now we've been here for 5 years. It's here when we got here. It's a really healthy olive tree. Never got any fruit, so I'm not too sure what's going on with that. Yes, dead tree. So we've had a rather wet spring. Like this last spring that we had was very, very wet, and I felt like it was a rather long, cold winter spring, which is unfortunate. We do have a little dwarf mandarin. Now I'm not a huge fan of dwarf trees, especially when I've got property. Like, they might be really good if you're in suburbia and you don't have a lot of yard space, but where we are, look, I'd rather just get the full-blown tree. But look, that's actually probably the healthiest that has looked in many years. Even when we're back in the suburbs, we had that in a pot and it didn't look that good. If you're wondering what that tree is behind it, that blew down in the wind a few days ago. Snapped in half. So what we have over here is our nashi pear. So one of the things I looked at when putting fruit trees in was, what will the kids eat? What do I enjoy eating? They're not always the same thing, but I know the kids do love eating nashi pear. I also enjoy eating nashi pear, and that's probably not looking super great at the moment. Looks like it's got some sort of fungus on it, but generally that one's going quite well, and like the trunk of that is growing really, really nicely. Over here, which is taking off nicely, is a William pear. That's going well, and what you'll notice, that's now getting a lot of shade from this tree here, which I'll now need to prune back. Now when I planted that pear tree, that tree was probably half that size, I'd reckon. It has just taken off, which is now creating a problem for our pear tree. So we will need to give it some more sunlight. Behind here is our cherry tree. I can only assume by this broken off branch, gosh, we have big kangaroos that come through. So when I say big kangaroos, like bigger than that, and that's about 5 feet high. So I reckon that kangaroo has grabbed that and pulled it down to munch on our little shoots that were coming up. So I'll need to now try and tape that up to save it. Now you may notice that there's a broken gum branch down there, and that, my friends, would be from, oh, where did he go? Let's have a look up there and let's see if you can spot him. Koala bear. So we do have koalas on our property. We have a few of them actually. But they don't normally bother the fruit trees, to be honest. So I reckon that was just a branch that was carrying around, and they're travelling from tree to tree. And he's just dropped it as he's gone past. Down here we have one lone blueberry tree. Now blueberries do grow in this region, but apparently they need a very acidic soil, and I don't think our soil is that acidic. We do get a lot of water through here, and we're about to come into our wet season. Actually, it's probably a slow start to our wet season at the moment, because I'm still walking along and not sinking 6 inches into mud, which I probably would be normally at this time of year. But that one's surviving. We did have 7 of them. That's the survivor. Over here we have an avocado tree, which is doing quite well considering the weather that we've had over the last few years. It hasn't grown too much, but the trunk is just slowly thickening up. Over here we have just planted another one. We've got a couple of nice shoots on it. No, it might not look that particularly healthy at the moment, and I'm not too sure if it's going to survive the winter. I'm not too sure what's been eating. Actually, I've probably got a good idea what's been eating the leaves, which is probably the wallaby or the kangaroo. So wallabies are like smaller versions of kangaroos, and we have a couple of wallabies as well on our property that sort of pass through. And then we do have mushrooms that grow in the wild here. Now apparently you can eat those things, but look, I don't tend to. I don't tend to do that at all. So that's one area that we've got fruit trees. We just move over to the other side now. And look, the longer we've been here, I guess the longer time I've had to look at where wind and water flows, where the water just sort of stays in the ground. What I probably didn't show you was just down behind where the blueberry was. There's a heap of blackberry bushes. So I have posted a video up on the blackberries, and you can see some of the, actually you can't see the blackberries because, oh, I've broken another one. So this is my white nectarine tree, and that's the second time they've broken that same branch. That's not good. That may not survive this one, unfortunately. Looks like they're having a bit of a go at this one this time. But as you can see down through here, we've got some blackberries, and pretty much there's a bank that goes along there, which I do allow the blackberries to stay because I pick them, eat them, and I do keep them controlled into that area. So that was my white nectarine tree. That's something I do like. Girls, not so much, but I do. Up here, the little pomegranate tree. Now, that's normal for this time of year for us. It's not dead or anything, but it's growing up fairly strongly. It does look quite good in its season, whenever that might be. And over this side is our apples. So we did have 6 apples. We've got Granny Smiths, we've got, I think, Johnny's. We've also got a Fuji apple tree, which I really like. We did have one here. So these 3 up here have been grafted. So my wife actually went to local workshop for the local permaculture group, and did some graftings onto some nice stock, local stock, which is really always the best way to do it. This one here was actually going really healthy until I got a little bit too close with the brush cutter one day and just took it right off, which was a little bit heartbreaking. A little piece of me cried inside because I was actually going quite well. And this one has recovered after being eaten by the sheep. Well, we don't normally leave the sheep into this area, but one day they did get out and started eating it. Now our other ones over there, we bought them bigger, so we actually bought them, they're about that sort of size. Haven't done a real lot over the last year. Have to say we did get a bit of fruit off a couple of them, but we didn't get to eat that fruit because the wallabies got to it before we did. Now I'm not particularly stressed by that, to be honest. Like, I know a lot of people get upset and want to chase the wallabies away, but I know at some point these trees will grow up high enough that we'll be able to eat the fruit off the top, and if there's anything hanging down the bottom, the wallabies will be able to manage that for us, and also get to eat their fill of nice fresh juicy apples. Now if you're wondering how I go about keeping the grass down on so many paddocks, it's not easy to do. It's definitely not something that I can do on my own. So over there you'll see our sheep. So we've got roughly just over 7 acres here, and I'd say 2/3 of that the sheep take care of for us. So they look after all that paddock, and also the top paddock around near the shed is as well. Normally once a year I'll hop into the paddocks with the mower to take out a lot of these ferns, undergrowth that you see through here. There's also reeds and stuff that tend to pop up through these paddocks as well, so it seems to be a good underwater flow going somewhere. Actually it goes into the gully down through here, and down the bottom there's a bit of a creek flowing through, but like that doesn't seem to flow all year round. It tends to be on season, so it tends to be more like, I think it's more probably runoff. But I do generally put the mower over it once a year, which I haven't this year, so it's been about 18 months since I've put the mower over this paddock, and the sheep have kept it down really well. And look, part of that I put down to the fact that because it was so wet and not as much sunlight, as much heat, because it wasn't a particularly hot summer, the grass just didn't grow as fast as what it has in the past. So that's been reasonably good in that regard, but in other regards, as far as the fruit trees go, not so good. So there you go, a quick tour. Look, we've probably got just under 20 trees. I know I've planted more than 20 fruit trees in, but we have lost quite a few in the last 12 months. And when I say quite a few, probably half a dozen. And for me, that's more than I'd like to lose. I'd like to lose none if I could, so I get that fruit up and growing. So the ones that I did lose were orange, because I don't think you can have too many of those, because you can always make juice. Same for lemons as well. You can use lemon in a lot of different things as well. So having those two key components, especially in the citrus, were key for me, and having different varieties as well. So that was unfortunate that we did lose them, but that's how life goes sometimes, especially when you're trying to be self-reliant and you're out in the property, and enjoying being outdoors. So look, if you've enjoyed that, please give us a big thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, that would be greatly appreciated. And share it with your friends if you have enjoyed it and they think they would as well. And so until next time, I'll see you then.